Let's bring our palms together at our heart center. Draw your buttocks down and feel the spine lift. Take a deep inhale and let the heart space lift through your throat space and then the space between the eyebrows to the crown of your head. And take a long breath down, all the way down to the tip of your tailbone. Then take another inhale and learning about the chakras, try to lift your breath through all the chakras as you lift all the way up the spine and then to the crown of the head, Sahasrara chakra. And exhale, allow the breath to release. One more time together. Inhale, let the breath rise. Let it invigorate your spine and your energy to the crown of your head, to all possibilities. And exhale the breath out. Release your hands down and slowly open up your eyes. And welcome to our Astro Yoga chat. I'm Kate.
And I'm Natalie. Hi.
Yay! We are back for another episode of our Astro Yoga chat.
Yes, the last few days of 2023, and we've arrived at the ninth house. So, the ninth house is about spirituality. Its ruler is Jupiter. Jupiter, the planet of good luck and expansion. It's about beliefs. It's about even like philosophy, teachers, higher education, even teaching yourself, gurus, like, one of the most important guru in your life, probably your father. In Western astrology, they sometimes say it's the 10th house, but in Indian astrology, it's the ninth house. It's about long distance traveling, also about publications and lawyers, and Jupiter rules hips and thighs. So that's, what the ninth house is all about.
I love that the belief, spirituality, philosophy, teachers are all in this house. It was when I got my chart very first read, and my son is in the ninth house, and it's like my focus of my life is in this ninth house. It just gave me that extra affirmation that I'm on my right path, that because being, learning about spirituality and having your beliefs in philosophy is it's like, it's a little bit than your cocktail hour conversation of like, hey, where are you going for vacation this year? Like you don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about, so, how do you feel when the full moon is like shining bright, and like how do you feel when your heart is expanding and trying to understand yourself on a different planes of uh not even just thought of, I mean, yeah, thought, consciousness, so.
And I think for us both is, whenever we learn something, we're people who want to share it. So becoming from being a student, becoming a teacher is actually like a natural step, right? And
Mhm.
you have the sun in the ninth house, so a major focus of your soul is teaching and even like learning yourself, spirituality. I have Chiron in my ninth house, so Chiron, the wounded healer. So I always had the feeling of I don't know enough. There's so much knowledge out there. I just want to learn. So I'm still at my age. I'm learning every day. I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm a sponge, like give me all the information that there is. And then from whatever I discover and I learn, I teach and I share my knowledge. So the wounded healer is somebody who's like, like sharing the knowledge also afterwards, and that's, yeah. And then of course with transits you have in that house, there's like doors opening. Maybe it's time to study more or travel less, or even like, it's the house of the father. So with transits, might be you get closer to your father, or there's more of a distance. Also, you can see health issues coming up and stuff like this. Yeah, so it's really interesting. And with the natal ninth house, of course, with good planets in there, you see that the relationship to the father is good, or you attract very meaningful teachers. People like, for instance, the Pope, he has a lot of planets in the ninth house. So that's his spirituality. People with planets in the ninth house and 12th house could be like spiritual speakers, or people who publish things, or like great lawyers. It also depends what sign it is in. So if it's a planet that's in there, that's in its exaltation, so very good position, makes it even stronger. If there are planets in weak positions, it's not that good, for instance. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to go back, what you said about Chiron being in your ninth house, that's something like, I mean, even though it's like the wounded healer, right? But it's something that like you're always working on, you're always like, in a sense, nurturing that side of you of like growth and learning like a sponge. And that's something that I admire so much about you. People, I don't think you understand. Like Natalie, like Vedic and Western astrology. Trust me, I'm studying right now astrology. I first started with Vedic and then now I'm studying Western, and I can't get either of them like really fully. Natalie, like the way that you absorb and the way that you go for it, like between your screenwriting and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but like, because sometimes when we think of like the word our wounded healer, or it's like the wound of us, or like this of us, or like this is a part of us that like we're just insatiable, like we're constantly thirsty for knowledge or thirsty for something, or I need to learn more. It's like, yes, like it can be quite exhausting in your life because you're like always like, oh, I got to get more and more. But you're like you're able to do things that other people won't be able to touch in their lifetime, and you're able to do so much of it because of this energy that you have, which I think is
And what the drive really is for me is always learning something, is understanding myself better, you
Mhm.
know. So whatever topic it is, like going deeper in yoga, spirituality, astrology, as above, so below, right? So whatever I learn, I understand more about myself, or have the ability to develop myself in a better way, grow more, deal with people in a different way. So I have this natural ambition just to expand and becoming more of who I am right now, or doing things in a better way, or more empathic, or whatever it is.
it's beautiful. And that's what, that's our spiritual practice, our belief practice is being able to continue, is like expansion of consciousness. It's like you're expanding your consciousness, your mind is like limited to what it's seen, is what it's been taught, is what what other people have done. And then those that can expand through their consciousness and can tap into, so above, so below, they can tap into frequencies and energy that are much more, that they haven't experienced yet. That to me is, for me, that very much ties into my meditation practice, definitely yoga practice too, because for those of you that practice asana, the postures, you were never able to do headstand before. And then through your expanding of your awareness of your physical plane, you're able now to bring your legs over your head and hold that pose. That's something that's done through your through your practice. That's and so but in my practice of meditation, that's what's taken me to keep going deeper and deeper within myself and recognize, wow, there's so much out there. There's so much out there.
So, I just took your class before, your online class. And when you did bridge pose, and then, I was like, I usually never practice Urdhva Dhanurasana because usually I'm too stressed or too tired or whatever, something's going on. And today, before your class, I was like, I'm just gonna get a belt just in case I would be able to do it today. And then when the bridge came up, I was like, no, I don't feel like doing it. And then I had the belief, I was like, I know so much about it that the warm up was so great. and I'm so ready for it. And I haven't done it in for so long in my own practice, but I put on the strap and I was really amazed how well it worked, so even in those steps, knowing something, so I know what a good warm up does, so I know how the body works, I know how the pose technically works. And so it's not even about beliefs, it's just knowledge, now it's the point to do it. And it was so easy and it worked out so well. And it's just an example as in life, like you go step by step, you learn every day, and things that you believe that are hard, at some point they are not hard anymore because you've done so much preparation for it. So being in your meditation or being in the moment or doing your yoga, it just helps in how you perceive your life and the challenges.
Absolutely. I remember when I first got a taste of belief and spirituality and how that came from my Greek grandmother, my Cypriot grandmother. She's from Cyprus, but she Greek Orthodox, and her level of faith for God was awe-inspiring. Like, as a child, I was drawn to her love for God. I was like, wow, this woman is so dedicated. I didn't understand to what and to why, but I understood the love pouring out of her. And so as a kid, I did whatever I could to make her proud. Like when the church would have like Easter, Greeks do a big thing for Easter, which I'm sure a lot of religions do. But and then I was asked if I would read this passage in Greek in front of the whole church. I was little, I was like 10, but for my grandmother, yes, I would do it. And I studied with her, and because it gave us also her and I a chance, and we studied. And when I went up there, I blacked out. I'm like 10 years old. I have no idea what's going on, but I read everything that I was supposed to. And all of my grandmother's friends were so proud, and my grandmother was so proud. And that, not to say that that gave me a closer indication to God. No, that gave me a closer understanding to what practicing your belief and what your spiritual practice, you got to practice, you got to put the work in, you got to, I saw that as like a sense of, okay, I was focused. I was focused and I was able to accomplish something that brought so much joy into my grandmother's life, which that love just ricocheted right off of me, And so it actually did open up my spiritual world, because then I started to ask the questions. Well, what is this feeling of love? What is this feeling of God? What is this feeling of being connected? And then I took my philosophy questions and just like looked up at the stars, and it started from a very young age. And so even though it was rooted in a traditional religion, it then shifted into something much more, I'm gonna use the word much more, uh, um, like connected to Kate, to understand Kate. It's like what you said. It's like you understand the more you learn, it's like you understand yourself, your place in this world, maybe.
And then on the other hand, I also want to say, like, if there is something not so developed in this area, like beliefs can turn into opinions or making people very opinionated, and that's not opening up and that's not creating connection, but it's always creating division. So where spirituality should be more open, religion can be sometimes, and I think we also see it right now, can be very divisive, right? So I think also on the yoga mat, when you question your own beliefs, like the mind, what is the mind telling me? Is that really what's going on? Once you start questioning it, you're already, I think, on a good path.
Mhm.
If you only follow like one belief and never like looking left or right, what else is possible, and then is that really correct what I believe? So I think you should always question your own beliefs too.
Mm.
Also in connection with gurus, like, it's it's great finding somebody who's helping you on a spiritual path, but also be very careful and ask questions. And is that really the right path or the right teacher for me? So, yeah.
Definitely. I think the guru topic can raise a bit of hairs on some people because we teachers are very important. What are teachers? But they're the light. They're the ones that like shine light on a place within you that's dark, and that way you can see the light. And how did they do that? From their own practice, from their own experiences and realizations. And there are some teachers who are just the minute they walk into the room, all they are is light. But we talked about Radhanath Swami, who wrote The Journey Home, and Natalie read Radhanath Swami's book. I've actually had the privilege of being in Radhanath Swami's presence quite a few times in workshops, and just in classes, and also being down at the Bhakti Center here in New York City. And like, he's light. He walks into the room and he just smiles, and the entire space fills up with light. He is this example of light. But to what you're saying, and I think is very important to mention, is that even if you have a teacher who's all full of light and everything is positive, do your best to also, what is the definition of philosophy, spirituality, and all? Keep yourself open, keep yourself expanding. Like, Jupiter is also part of the ninth house, so keep yourself still growing and expanding. I learn a lot from Radhanath Swami, as I learn a lot from my other teachers in my life. And I've had teachers who I've had to not let go of in a formal sense, but just kind of say, that was great for that time period, and now I'm gonna just make a left.
And also, with your father. So you need your parents as a child, you're dependent on them, and you adopt their belief system and how they were raised. And at some point, when you individuate and you grow up, you also have to question that. Doesn't mean that you should be disrespectful, always respect your parents, but that doesn't mean that they're perfect. They're also human. And maybe certain belief systems, you don't want to adopt or change it. And I mean, also with women especially, right? So they look for father figures, or in relationships, either they mirror the father or totally the opposite. And with men, how was the mom, it's affecting what kind of relationships they have. So it's definitely worth looking at the ninth house and, indicators of the father. For instance, in Vedic, the sun is the father. In Western, they use Saturn more. But, looking what connections does the sun have? Like, are there certain issues with the image of the father? Is there a father wound? Do I have to work on something in order to make relationships work for myself better? Like,
Yep.
some people have amazing fathers and they attract wonderful husbands. And some people, they maybe have more distant fathers, or even, not present fathers at all, so, and you see it always so interesting. You look at the sun and how it's aspected or connected with different planets. And when I'm asking these questions, it's always right on,
Yeah.
always correct. Father was not there, father was distant, father was amazing, father was great. So you see it with the sun. Very interesting.
Wow. It's very and I'll share this about my dad, who is not a yogi at all. My mom is a yogi. So the yogis believe that you're born into a family that will help you to continue your path. And my mom is a yoga instructor, and so being born into this family is it just makes a lot of sense for me. But my dad, who is the Greek Orthodox one. So he's very old school. And if anybody knows what old school is, original gangster, came on a boat from Cyprus when he was like 10 years old to Ellis Island and lived in Manhattan. And he's part of this era of the immigrants that came through and busted their butt, and all this. But he doesn't practice yoga at all, doesn't do any of this. Yet he's so spiritual and he's so in tune with his own body. So I don't know if I've shared this already with all of us, but I wanted to teach him yoga nidra because he's got something with his heart and he's got clogged arteries just because of his body, like it's not what he eats. And I was going to teach him yoga nidra so that way he can de-stress and all of this. And when I started to tell him about the visualization part, he's like, I do that all the time. I just sit down, I close my eyes, I imagine that the arteries to my heart are expanding and the blood is flowing through. And I just like looked at him. I understand why my mom picked him as a husband because she is a spiritual person and she wanted a spiritual partner. I mean, they've been married now for 47 years, you know? So they're on their own type. So spirituality doesn't have to look like what we think it might. Like the robe, the guru, the I'm a yoga you know, it's like spirituality can look in so many different ways. And you know, so I'm very blessed to have a father who picked my mother as his wife because I could be as woo woo as I want to be because she's the original woo woo, you know. And I
And
guess yeah, go
and
ahead.
in spirituality, you say anyways, right? So not the parents decide when they'll have a baby, but the spirit or the soul of the baby decides, oh, those parents I need. So
Those are the parents that I needed, you know.
so it's a karmic connection anyways. And you know, in esoteric knowledge, they say that we always just switch roles, right? So it's like a group or a family of souls that always incarnate together. And once I'm the mom, and then you're the mom, and you're the father, la 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 la. So it's just switching up. You're just playing roles.
That's so interesting. It's so interesting.
So do we have a little homework for
Oh,
our
yes, yes, yes. I say for homework, uh, I say for homework is that because the ninth house is also attached to long distance travel, we're about to enter into a new year. Where would you like to go? Long distance travel. Where would you like to go? You know,
and what would you like to learn?
and what would you like to learn?
So actually, Jupiter is turning direct on New Year's Eve. And so he was retrograde for a few months right now. So we'll feel him very strongly right now because he's standing still at this point. And then moving the next few months forward, you know, there will be a lot of expansions in different areas, whatever house he's traveling through. So actually, it's, you know, the new year is starting with a lot of energy to move ahead and to move on. And yeah, that's
It's
really great.
beautiful. I will take it. I will take it. I will take it. I want it. Thank you. Well, perfect. Let us put our palms together at our heart and lift up your heart space, lift up the crown of your head. Okay. And know that you have the ability to expand in your energy, in your beliefs, in your life. You know, just tap into everything is constantly changing. Energy is constantly moving. Take a deep breath in from the tip of your tailbone to the crown of your head. And then take a very long breath out. Release your hands and open up your eyes. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Namaste.